Alrighty, sorry, my students are being very loud today. You can hear them far, far away. But if we want to write the equation of a tangent line, right? So that's using the equation y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, this is the equation that we're always going to use. So we're given the x value, so we've got that one. We need to calculate the y value, okay, and the y value comes from your function directly, right? F of x means y, so in order to find the y value, you just plug 3 into your given equation. And then we need to find the slope, and slope comes from the derivative. So we need to find the derivative in order to find the slope. So one thing at a time, let's just find the y value first. So we find the y value by plugging 3 into our given function. So 5 times 3 squared plus 4. So 3 squared is 9. 9 times 5 is 45. 45 plus 4 is 49. So our y value is going to be 7. Okay, check. One thing down, one thing to go. And that is to find the slope. And the slope comes from our derivative, evaluated at 3. So we have a square root as our function with a quadratic underneath, right? So you need to recognize this as being a chain rule derivative, right? The outside part is your square root, and the inside part is your quadratic. So first we take the derivative of our square root, which hopefully you've memorized this formula. It's 1 over 2 times the square root of whatever we have underneath there, and that thing is 5x squared plus 4. Okay, so that's the derivative of our square root part, and then we multiply it by the derivative of your argument down there, which is going to be 10x. Because we use the power rule, 5 times 2 is 10x to the first power. Okay, so there's our derivative, right? I guess we can do a little simplifying. We can write our 10x up here, right? That might make it a little prettier. But now we're going to evaluate when x equals 3. So 10 times 3 over 2 times, well, I know what this one is already. We've done f of 3, right? That's just 7. So that's not going to change when we plug 3 into there. Okay, so 10 times 3 is 30 over 14, which reduces to 15 over 7. So this is the slope of our equation right here. That's the slope. This is the y value for our equation. So we can write our answer as y minus 7 equals 15/7 times x minus 3. Okay, our question said write the equation of a line, so we're not done until we write the equation of our line. Okay, our next little problem says use your answer to estimate f of 3.1. Okay, so there's a little theorem. F of 3.1 is approximately the same as the derivative evaluated at 3.1. Okay, so we have 10 times 3.1 over 2 times the square root of 5 times 3.1 squared plus 4. And you know what? For AP Calculus, that is good enough. Okay, right? This is a no calculator not active, so that's all we need to do to estimate the value of, right? Approximately, so make sure we have the words approximately, because it is not equal to, it is approximately. Okay, moving on. Here we have a trig equation, and we want to once again write the tangent through the point. Okay, so our tangent line needs a y value, and it needs a slope. So first things first, our y value comes when we plug the square root of 2 pi over 4 into our equation. So that's the sine of 4 times the square root of 2 pi over 4 squared. Okay, so let's do this very, very carefully, right? One step at a time. We're going to square the root, and we're going to square the denominator. Okay? When I square my root, I just get the 2 pi. When I square my denominator, I get 16. Okay? So the square root of 2 pi over 4 squared is 2 pi over 16. Okay, I can reduce my 4 and my 16 to be the sine of 2 pi over 4, which becomes the sine at pi over 2. Now, if you know your unit circle, pi over 2 is 90 degrees, and the sine at 90 degrees is 1. So our y value for your equation of your tangent line is going to be 1. Okay, now for the slope, which means we have to find the derivative. So every time we have a trig, this is going to be a chain rule also. The outer shell of our chain rule is the sine, and the inner part is our 4t squared. So first we take the derivative of sine, that's cosine. Right? And we don't mess with the 4t squared. We've only taken the derivative of the sine. Becomes cosine of 4t squared. And then we multiply it by the derivative of 4t squared, which is 8t. Right? We use the power rule again. 2 times 4 is 8. T to the first power. Okay? So now we're going to once again plug in the square root of 2 pi over 4 into our equation. So the cosine of 4, square root 2 pi over 4 quantity squared, times 8 times the square root of 2 pi over 4. Okay, so that has a second part to it for our slope. Okay, so remember what this was. This isn't going to change. We exactly had that last time. That's just pi over 2. All right, so this is the cosine at pi over 2. And then 8 divided by 4 is 2. 2 square root of 2 pi. So let's go to our unit circle and evaluate. What's the cosine at pi over 2? Well, it happens to be 0. So our slope is going to be 0, right? So that means we have a horizontal tangent, okay, at the square root of 2 pi divided by 4. Okay, so if we have a horizontal tangent, we can basically write the equation as y equals 1, right? Because that's our y value. Y equals 1. But let's be formal. Y minus 1 equals 0 times x minus the square root of 2 pi over 4. Okay, with a slope of 0, right, we're always going to have y equals as your tangent line to do that with. Okay, B says find the second derivative. So we're going to find the derivative of this guy. So this is our first derivative. X prime, our derivative is 8t times the cosine of 4t squared, right? That is our first derivative. So it says take the derivative of that thing. The second derivative is the derivative of the derivative. Okay? This is going to be a product rule, right? We have 8t, which is a linear function, times the cosine, which is a trig function. So this is a product rule derivative. Okay, so we take the derivative of, right, leave the first thing alone, and take the derivative of the second thing, which, oh, that's the bell. But the derivative of cosine is negative sine of 4t squared times 8t, right? So this is always a chain rule derivative. So that's just for the cosine of 4t squared. Plus, the derivative of 8t is just 8, and we're going to leave the cosine of 4t squared alone. Okay? And technically that's all you have to do, right? Because it's a FRQ question, you don't have to simplify that. But in case we did, negative 64t squared times the sine of 4t squared plus 8 cosine 4t squared. There you go. That's some good stuff.